talked about some of these things so much in my social circles with my friends that I'm becoming known as the rental guy. And the rental guy in the sense that everyone's starting to understand that I am a big proponent and a big fan of renting homes. And this is not something that's come new out of the experience of the economic meltdown. No, no way. We were lucky and fortunate enough to have started into this idea even before the meltdown started. Some people start to say, "Ooh, I'm long on houses at the moment," and jokingly talk about the problems that they're having with their own selling their houses. But we're basically shorting the house market. But it's not even just shorting the house market like we'll eventually one day get back in the house market. We'll probably never, hopefully, as long as we can stave it off, we will never get into owning a house. It just doesn't make financial sense. You can rent a lot more house than you can ever buy. That's the first thing. And then secondarily, a house is not an asset. And Robert Kiyosaki talks about this, and I do like his definition of an asset. An asset, he says, is something that puts money in your pocket. A liability is something that takes money out of your pocket. And it's anyone who's ever heard the expression before, house poor, knows that houses take money out of your pocket. And we'll go into look at in the subsequent article about how the fact that what's going through everyone's mind right now who's listening to this is saying, yeah, but the increase in value. Yeah, but you're just throwing away money if you're renting. We'll go in to look at this supposed increase in value, and the fact of the matter is houses they barely beat inflation. They barely beat inflation, only 2.3% greater than inflation over the long term. Sure, there are peaks where things are great, and there are lulls like we have now where things are bad, and maybe it makes sense to go buying up a house right now while the price is down. I'm not a great investor in houses, and if you don't know what you're doing in that market, you can really get killed. But more than just really get killed, the fact of the matter is houses are expensive. You got the roof that leaks, you got, even besides that, you got the dishwasher that breaks, you got the taxes and the property taxes. You have so many other expenses that go along with the upkeep and maintenance of it that they just wear you down. And the other thing is the liability that's associated with it. That if you ever want to get up and move, you ever want to sell your house or change houses, we can see now it's not real easy to sell a house. They're not such liquid assets. If you want to be out of a rental contract, give your 30 days notice, you are gone. You might lose and forfeit your deposit, but that's really not much. That's just 1 month's rent. It's not like sucking up rent or sucking up the mortgage payment or a double mortgage on 2 homes for months and months and years on end while you can't sell your house. In the story I've shared with my dumb luck with houses and how I came around to it with much thanks to my wife. As some maybe kind of perverse benefit that my parents gave me when I was turned about 30, they convinced me to buy the old family home. And so I went ahead and bought it, and of course it was beneficial to do so. They made it a sweet deal, and I very much do appreciate them for that because it was just really, really nice. But I was like everyone, living the American dream. I got saddled down with debt, had extra equity, home equity loans to money to live on, and we were investing in the house, spending every waking moment fixing up the house, doing all these things with the house. And hey, didn't we make, through the improvements, the old family home look great? I felt good about it. Hey, look at what I've done. Not to say everyone in my family thought I did a great job, but anyways, I thought I did. And through the course of that process, I got married, and we eventually moved to Europe. And this was where really the life-changing event occurred for me. Despite having moved to Europe, I wanted to keep the house, and with my wife, we kept the house and we rented it out for a period of time and offset some of the costs with it through rental income. But as time was going on, my wife kept saying to me, "Let's sell the house." And I say, "Why sell the house? It's the family house. We have to keep it." She said, "Let's sell the house. I want to get out of debt." I said, "Debt? We don't have any debt. What are you talking about, debt?" And she said, "What do you call a mortgage? I want to get out from under the mortgage." Mortgage? Everyone's got a mortgage. They're just normal. She said, "I don't care what you call it. We want to get out of that house. Let's sell that house, and I want to get out from the stress of it." And it wasn't really any of her logic, kind of like the logic which I'm giving you now, which convinced me into that point, but the fact that when we just had more and more kids and we were never going to fit back in that house, in that 3-bedroom house, that I said, all right, let's sell it. That decision was probably, besides marrying my wife, one of the greatest decisions of my life. It was an excellent, excellent move to sell it. We had bought it in 99, or I had bought it in 99. We got married in about 2001, held on to the house to about 2005, and we got really, really lucky. It was providential, perhaps. Not perhaps, it was providential. It was all part of God's plan. But we were really lucky to sell out in what couldn't have been closer to the height of the housing market. So we were very, very fortunate, and I want to stress that it's not financial savvy by any means. It was really just kind of dumb luck in the whole thing that it worked out that way. But that's not the important point of it. The important point of it is that getting out from under a house is so liberating from not being beholden to the bankers. Well, you can say, well, what's the difference paying a mortgage, paying rent? There's something psychologically different about having this huge loan over your head and the ability to just say paying rent. When we know at any moment's time we can get up and walk away from that house and say, look, something's changed, we got fired, we lost a job, we're done, we got to downsize. You can downsize and be up and out of that house in a week. The other thing that is just hugely important about this is the fact that when we sold our house, the equity, the down payment that we had, whatever it was, even $10,000, $20,000, is a huge amount to instantly have as savings. You instantly have that as savings. So even now, some people might be saying, well, how do I get out from my house? I can't. Man, I would sell my house for whatever I could. I would take a loss on it just to be able to get to that and get to that freedom, that is financial freedom in terms of being away from the banker and then having some money, savings in your back pocket, in your savings account that is there and it's there and providing you security to do whatever you want if you ever have a crisis. But also you can then pay down your debts real quick, pay it off credit cards and mortgages and everything else, and you'll be liquid. And you can really start to, once you've done that, live within your means. But more importantly than all of that, and after all of that, the second one, just getting free from the bankers and being free to be able to do what you want is probably the biggest. A third add-on benefit, I would say, is the ability to then take that money, your savings, and say, I can start to put this to work. I can start to get this to make money for me at maybe not 2.3%, 2.3%, as the housing market will give me, or not 5% of what some mortgage or mutual fund will give me, or money market, but I can start to put that work to make 9, 10, 15, 20% per year. And what we've been doing is we're making like 40 and 75 and 90% per year, but anyone can start to get their money to work for them. So these houses are not an asset. Robert Kiyosaki says it very, very well. Anything that takes money out of your pocket is a liability. Something that puts money in your pocket is an asset. So when you take that house and get rid of it, you are really freed from a lot of stress, and it is the most liberating thing that you can ever go through. But don't believe it from me. Check out the link from the Nobel Prize winner, economic professor, Edmund Phelps up at Cambridge University. He's got this figured out, and he does just a great job of explaining it in layman's terms and also from a doctoral perspective. That's the story on houses. Get out from under it. We've had at least one success story of a girlfriend who said, I went back and talked to my husband about this after a dinner with, again, my wife, and they thought about it after a week. They put the house up on the market, sold it, got out from under that, and started renting a house, actually a model home from a builder. They started renting a model home from a builder so quickly it couldn't blink an eye. They got all this equity back out of their house, and they are living in a nicer, better house than they ever possibly dreamed to imagine, and they're accruing all those benefits that we just mentioned. So thanks a lot for listening. Thanks a lot for checking out the blog post, and we wish you a good day, and hoping that you can find a way to get out from under your house too.